Hello everyone. Last time we learned how to multiply fractions and mixed fractions. And so this time we will learn how to divide mixed fractions or just dividing fractions. Okay, so let's start with a definition first. Reciprocal. Reciprocal is a number that can be found by exchanging the numerator and the denominator. Exchanging the numerator and the denominator. Okay, and what's the property of reciprocal? If a number is multiplied by its reciprocal, then the product is equal to 1. Okay, so let me give you an example. If my number is 2/3, then the reciprocal is 3/2. And if you multiply these two, well, because they all cancel, so my answer is equal to 1. Okay, so that's what reciprocal is and what the property of reciprocal is. Okay, and now because we're learning division, let's talk about the three terms of division first: dividend, divisor, and quotient. Dividend divided by divisor is equal to quotient. Yeah, we need to know that. Okay, so let's start with dividing with using a diagram. 2/3 divided by 1/6. So let's draw 2/3 first. So dividing this rectangle into 3 pieces, and because it's 2/3, so we're shading 2 pieces. Okay. So now this is divided into 1/6. So let's take a look at what 1/6 looks like. Okay, so if I divide my rectangle into 6 parts, then each part is 1/6. So what I'm doing here is I want to divide 2/3, so this part, into these little pieces, and we want to find how many pieces will there be. So let's take a look. Um, okay, now you guys can tell that each rectangle piece here is the same as 3 little rectangles. So if I want to fill up one piece, I'll need 3 little rectangles. One piece, and then another 3 rectangles will give me another piece. One more. Okay, and we'll have 3 left. Okay. So, how many pieces of 1/6 do we have? Well, we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. So from the diagram, we can tell that 2/3 divided by 1/6 is equal to 4. Okay? All right, next question. Divide and simplify to the lowest term using a rule. Okay, so the steps for dividing fractions are over here. Whenever you're multiplying or dividing fractions, you always need to change your mixed fractions as improper fractions first. Okay? So this is always the first step if you have a mixed fraction. And then the second step is to change the division sign to a multiplication sign. And then you will flip the divisor. The divisor is a number that we multiply by. That is the number after the division sign. Okay, and then that become a multiplication question. Multiplying fractions will apply the same rules that we use to multiply fractions. And this step over here, step 2 and step 3, is called multiply the reciprocal. Well, because when we change division to multiplication, it's multiplying, right? And then when we flip the divisor, we're actually looking for the reciprocal of the divisor. So let's try a few examples. Okay. For this first question, we don't have any mixed fractions, so we'll just do it from the second step. The second step tells us we'll need to change the division to multiplication, and we are keeping the first fraction unchanged. Okay, first fraction is always the same. Okay, so change division to multiplication, and then we'll flip the divisor, we'll flip the number after the division sign. So instead of 1 over 4, it became 4 over 1. Now it's just a multiplication question. We'll just do it the same way when we multiply fractions. Okay, and let's look for common factors. 4 and 8 has a common factor of 4, so 4 divided by 4 is 1, 8 divided by 4 is 2. And so 7 times 1 is 7, 2 times 1 is 2. And that's our answer. Okay, now let's look at the second question. Second question we have here is a mixed fraction divided by another mixed fraction. So what we need to do first is we have to change it to an improper fraction. Okay, so 2 times 2 plus 1. And then we have 3 times 4 plus 3. So the first fraction is 5 over 2, and the second fraction is 15 over 4. And now we can start the second step. Keep the first fraction, change the division to a multiplication, and flip the divisor. Okay, now do we have any common factors? Yes, 5 and 15 have a common factor of 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1, 15 divided by 5 is 3. And then 2 and 4, 2 divided by 2 is 1, 4 divided by 2 is 2. So my final answer then is just 1 times 2 is 2 on top, 1 times 3 is 3 on the denominator. Okay, next one. So next question here we have is a fraction divided by a integer. What do we do? Well, we can actually change all integers to a fraction. 6 is the same as 6 over 1. 6 over 1 means 6 divided by 1, right? So 6 over 1 is the same as 6 divided by 1, which is just 6. We're changing it to 6 over 1 just because it makes our life easier. So starting from the second step, 8 over 3, we'll change the division to multiplication and then flip the second fraction. So that's 1 over 6. And so we have a common factor between 8 and 6, which is 2. So 8 divided by 2 is 4, 6 divided by 2 is 3. And so my answer here is 1 times 4 is 4, 3 times 3 is 9, 4 over 9. Okay, next question. So same for this question. It's easier if you can change integers to fractions first before you multiply or divide. So 8 is just 8 over 1. And then we'll divide by 3 over 4. Okay, so change it to multiply and flip. Do we have any common factors between the top and the bottom? No, right? So we have to multiply them directly. 8 times 4, 32. 1 times 3, 3. Okay. 2 more questions and then one word problem. This question looks a bit different from the questions we did, right? How do we do this one? Well, what we learned is that a fraction line just means you are dividing, right? So this is the same as saying 3 divided by 1/8. Now it's easy. 3 is the same as 3 over 1. And then we'll change it to multiplying the reciprocal, multiplying the flip of the second fraction. So that's 8 over 1. 3 times 8 is 24. 1 times 1 is 1. 24 over 1 is the same as saying 24 divided by 1, which is just 24. Okay, next question. Well, same idea. It's the top fraction divided by the bottom fraction. So 5 over 8 divided by 7 over 10. And we'll multiply the reciprocal, change division to multiply, and then find the reciprocal of the divisor. Now, do we have any common factors? Yes, we do. 8 and 10, right? And 10 has a common factor of 2. So 10 divided by 2 is 5. 8 divided by 2 is 4. Yeah, that's it. So 5 times 5 is 25. 4 times 7 is 28. And my answer for this question is 25 over 28. All right, last question. So whenever you do a word problem, again, you need to read the question carefully and highlight the necessary or highlight the important information. So it says water weighs approximately 62.5 pounds per cubic foot. How many cubic feet does 281.25 pounds of water occupy? So we know in total we have that much water. And we know each cubic foot has about 62.5 pound of water. So the question is, how many cubic feet are there for a total of 281.25 pound of water? Well, in total, we have this much water, and each 62.5 pound is equal to 1 cubic feet. And we are looking for how many 6.5 pound there are. Okay, in order to find that, we would divide 281.25 by 62.5. By dividing, I'm actually looking for the number of 62.5 pound in a total of 281.25. Okay, so let's calculate that. Well, it's a mixed fraction, so the first step is to change it to an improper fraction. So that's 281 times 4 plus 1 over 4 divided by 62 times 2 plus 1 over 2. If you do your calculation, it's 1,125 divided by 4 over 4 divided by 125 over 2. Well, it's a division problem, so we need to change it to a multiplication problem first, and then flip the divisor. So cancel out any common factors there are. 4 divided by 2 is 2, 2 divided by 2 is 1, and then 1125 and 125, they have a common factor of 125. So if we divide that, it's equal to 1, and that is equal to 9. And so 9 times 1 is 9, 2 times 1 is 2. My final answer is 9 over 2. So there are 9 over 2 cubic feet. All right. So this is a word problem. You guys will always need to put down the unit. Okay? All right. The homework for this section is up here. Please try them and let me know if you have any questions.